Okay, my name is Reagan Cole, and this is my presentation on the environmental impacts on human health. So first, an introduction and the problem. So first, right off the bat, the name kind of gives away the subject. So it's things or problems in the environment that typically result in the negative harm towards human health. And basically, it's the why behind human health. Many people hear of things such as respiratory diseases, heart problems, cancers. And although genetics do play a role into this, it's more than just genetics. There are more issues that cause these than simply mutations in a DNA strand and things of that nature. And unless serious preventative measures are taken, this has been an increasing problem over the last several decades, and this trend will continue in the future if steps are not taken to prevent this. So, some main concerns and solutions that I'm offering. So, looking at the chart on the bottom left, you can see the main causes of death for the number of death by cause in the world in 2017 are cardiovascular diseases, cancer, and respiratory diseases. So, although due to genetics, like I said previously, a large in part to do with these issues are things such as air pollution. So, air pollution is emitted by factories, power plants, burning of fossil fuels, car emissions, that sort of thing. Just those particulates getting into the atmosphere and getting into humans' lungs. And that can cause a lot of issues, such as these cardiovascular diseases and respiratory diseases and even cancer. So, it is said that breathing in the air in Mexico City is equivalent to smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day. So obviously, this is a huge issue. Obviously, Mexico City's case is more drastic, but it is still an issue globally. So another issue further down the list is poverty slash nutrition related issues. So, and that can be linked to overfarming. So, if a land is overfarmed, that means the nutrients in the soil is depleted and it can no longer be used. So, if you have this huge chunk of land that has been farmed for the last 20 odd years, the soil is no longer usable. So that means companies have to cut down more parts of the forest, hence deforestation, and this process happens over and over again, hence it's fueling the fire of this problem. And that often leads to chronic malnutrition, where people aren't getting enough nutrients from the food that they're eating. So this issue just plays over and over again, and it leads to poverty and nutrient related issues, and eventually leads to starvation and death. But the real question is how to combat these issues. Since they're so significant, how do we fix it? How do we reverse the damage that we have done? So, and honestly, there's not a clear answer to that. There are a lot of different potential solutions, and that's what I'm going to talk about. So, some solutions for poverty and malnutrition would be adding more legislation to protect farmlands and forests and the organic layers in the soil. So, if this is done, that means farming can be done more sustainably and I don't want to say correctly, but in a way that will preserve the soil so that it can be reused again without depleting the nutrients in that soil. And things such as increasing polyculture agriculture systems to industrialized farming. So instead of just having a monocrop such as corn or soy that's often mass produced in smaller, like third world nations, having polycultures will help keep nutrients in the soil as well as preserving that organic layer. So that means more food can be produced, and overall, just in the long run, if more food's produced, there's less nutrition related issues with starvation. And things such as strip cutting instead of clear cutting would also help this issue. Some potential solutions for combating air pollution would again be legislation such as the Clean Air Act that was passed in the 70s. But now, since this is such a more prominent issue, as seen with the cardiovascular diseases and respiratory diseases, killing 17.79 million and almost 4 million, it would need to be more intensive and rigorous, and it would need to be implemented as soon as possible. And this would decrease smog, which would result in a cleaner atmosphere, and it would have this trickle down effect. So obviously the results aren't going to be instant, but if we do this now, the results will be seen in the future. So if there's clean air, there's more biodiversity, things such as that nature, and eventually these numbers will start to decrease. And then why should humans care? Because clearly nothing has been done, or the measures that have been taken haven't been very effective, so why should we care? So, of course, with these solutions, there's pros and cons to both sides. So, some positives for the solutions of malnutrition due to farming issues would be ecological and friendliness, because if you're preserving the forest, there's more biodiversity, which means there would be more nutrition in that soil, which would result in more nutrient rich soil, and then you would get more nutrient rich crops. There would also, like I said, more biodiversity. Um, and overall, it would just have a better impact on humans. There would be less deaths, more access to food. Overall, like, yes, this would take some time, but it would be a step in the right direction. Some other positives for the solutions suggested for air pollution would be an increase in human and animal health. So if there's less smog and less particulate matter and volatile organic matter in the atmosphere, humans aren't breathing that in. And that results in less deaths because of the cardiovascular diseases and things in that nature. So overall, like I previously mentioned, it's a trickle down effect. Not all these things, like these solutions, are going to result in instantaneous results, but if they're stuck to, it will result in a positive impact. And then the cons are money, time, and international issues. So a pro, like I said when I was talking about that, it's a trickle down effect. So time is a huge concern. We're almost at the point where the effects that we've done to the environment is almost irreversible. So changing that can be super hard. It would cost a lot of money to get legislation passed, again with time, and international. It can't just be one country doing this because, like other acts that have been passed, if one country steps out of the deal, many more do. So everyone would have to contribute and stick to these really assertive legislation that would be passed in order for it to actually occur. And as a society, we're selfish. That's just how it is. So if we simply do not care about the environment, we should care about the impacts it's having on us because of what we have done to the environment that is now backlashing on us. So this has short and long-term effects. Obviously, we've seen an increase in death as shown on the previous two charts on the last slide, but it also has long-term impacts such as endocrine factors and teratogens. So these cause birth defects. So not only is it killing people now, but mothers who get pregnant or people who get pregnant, it's passed down and the genetics are altered for that baby in the future. That could result in death or very severe birth defects that would impact that person's ability of life. So, like I said, if we do not care enough about the environment, we should be able to care enough about the impacts that these issues have on ourselves, and that's why we should care. Because everything we're doing to the environment has a negative effect towards us. So if we take these positive steps moving forward, even though they're small, it will have a good positive impact in the future.